Hello, good evening, and welcome back. So, apparently Trump is impeached. Not quite true, as it hasn't faced the Senate trial yet. But as we see from the BBC, Trump is impeached, becoming third US president to face Senate trial. This all comes down on partisan lines, which is hardly a surprise to anybody, given that the Democrats do not think they can win the 2020 election fairly, just like 2016 as well. And therefore they've thought, well, the only way to secure a victory is to try to impeach Donald Trump. That way he won't be a viable contender, and the Republicans will have to scramble in order to find somebody worthwhile. So, what are the falsified charges which they've brought against him? Well, the House voted first that the president abused his power, and then that he had obstructed Congress. Both votes fell along party lines, with nearly all Democrats voting for the charges and all Republicans against. As voting took place, President Trump was addressing a rally in Michigan. He was too busy to care about the partisan politics. Good on him. So, they say, the first abuse of power stemming from Trump's alleged attempt to pressure Ukraine to announce investigations into his Democratic political rival, Joe Biden, and second, obstruction of Congress because the president allegedly refused to cooperate with the impeachment inquiry, withholding documentary evidence and barring his key aides from giving evidence. And of course they have to add allegedly here, because essentially all that happened was Joe Biden, didn't like the investigation going into his son Hunter Biden in Ukraine, and therefore said, hey, we will withhold this the money from America unless you play ball and fire your investigator so that Hunter Biden can get on with Burismas risk-free. And then Trump said, well, hey, doesn't this go against the security of the United States? We should really look into this, essentially. And even that is giving the Democrats the benefit of the doubt in order for the safety of America, and then saying, oh no, well that's not fair because Joe Biden is now the leading Democratic candidate other than Hillary Clinton, who isn't running, and therefore it's unfair because it looks bad on Joe, on Mr. Biden, because it's showing what he honestly did. And if you ever want to make a Democrat look bad, then you just have to show them with complete honesty. The vote on the first article meant Mr. Trump had been impeached, placing him alongside only two other presidents in the nation's history, Andrew Johnson and Bill Clinton, and setting up a trial in the Senate for his presidency. So that's clearly not going to go ahead. And instead of that, given how he responded, saying that it's basically just a witch hunt and it's the only chance the Democrats have, it's going to further his support coming into the 2020 election. And I think it's pretty much a done deal here that he will get his second election victory. And his tweet, in fact, said, calling the Democratic arguments atrocious lies by the radical left and an assault on the Republican Party, which it quite blatantly is. Tim Pool has been covering this for weeks, and he goes into more detail should you have a few hours to spare. But Nancy Pelosi, for what she's worth, said, for centuries Americans have fought and died to defend democracy for the people, but very sadly now our founders' vision of a republic is under threat from actions from the White House. So blatantly not true. The thing is, he hasn't done anything to try to undermine the democracy that they're talking about, and after all, it's a democratic republic. It isn't supposed to be just pure democracy anyway. They understood the limitations of that, and that's why the Electoral College is there, for example. If we do not act now, she continues, we would be derelict in our duty. It is tragic that the president's reckless actions make impeachment necessary. He gave us no choice. It isn't at all, but you have no chance of winning otherwise. Moving on. The Republican Barry Lodermill compared the impeachment process to the fate of Jesus Christ. During that sham trial, Pontius Pilate afforded more rights to Jesus than Democrats have afforded this president in this process. Yes, that's fair enough, seeing as they keep digging up old things that aren't even true, and then going to second, third, fourth, and fifth-hand accounts in order to try and get something to stick. The Mueller probe was, of course, the origin of that, when even at the time I realised, well, there isn't actually any cause for investigation here, seeing as there was no collusion with the Russians, what caused Rachel Maddow to have a viewer rating increase. And I knew that from the beginning, and so I didn't go ahead. Then the Steele dossier about prostitutes peeing on the bed. That had nothing to it either, even though BuzzFeed went along with it. And now it's the same here with the whole Ukraine supposed scandal. It's just one thing after another. And as it happens, although they say, oh, well, the Americans support this because it's been going on for so long. It's like, no, actually the majority, well, it's actually only a very small minority who do support Trump being impeached. It's more people who don't wish him to be impeached, and the majority either don't care or don't wish for him to be impeached, and therefore they will come out stronger because his base is hardened and he has grown from his original base in the first place. So that is the video for today. So let me know what you guys think down below. What do you think will happen next, other than to go into the Senate trial? How do you think that'll turn out, and how do you think that'll play into the 2020 election? Always looking forward to hear what you guys have to say, so thank you so much for watching, as always, and until next time, have a good one.